The ballroom of the Whitmore estate glittered like something out of a movie. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling. Champagne flowed freely. A string quartet played. Near the marble staircase, while nearly 200 guests laughed, danced, and whispered about the wedding that would soon unite two of the richest families in New York. At the center of it all stood Victoria Harrington, the elegant, beautiful, and notoriously demanding fiancée of billionaire Ethan Whitmore. Victoria wore a deep red designer gown. Around her wrist was a diamond bracelet worth more than most people's homes, and in her hand was something that didn't belong at a celebration: a riding crop. Standing several feet away was Maya Carter, a 26-year-old maid who had worked at the Whitmore estate for almost 3 years. Maya was trembling. Her eyes were filled with tears. "I didn't steal anything," she whispered. Victoria stepped closer. "You expect me to believe that?" "I swear. You were the only person in my dressing room. I was there to deliver the flowers. And somehow my mother's necklace disappeared?" Maya shook her head desperately. "I never touched it." A few guests stopped talking. The music continued, but the ballroom suddenly felt strangely quiet. Victoria raised the riding crop. "You poor little liar?" Maya instinctively covered her face. The crop came down. A sharp crack echoed across the marble floor. Several guests gasped. Maya cried out, "Please!" Victoria grabbed her arm. "You should be grateful I don't have you arrested." "I didn't do it." Another strike. Then another. Nobody moved. Nobody wanted to challenge the future wife of Ethan Whitmore. Nobody except an elderly housekeeper named Mrs. Collins, who finally stepped forward. "Miss Harrington, please!" Victoria turned. "Stay out of this." "But she's telling the truth." Victoria's face hardened. "Are you accusing me of lying?" "No, ma'am. I'm saying Maya couldn't have taken that necklace." "And why is that?" "Because I saw her leave the dressing room." Victoria smiled coldly. "Then perhaps your eyesight isn't as good as you think." Maya lowered her head. She had learned long ago that poor people were rarely believed when wealthy people accused them, but she had no idea that the worst moment of her life was about to become the moment that changed everything. Because the ballroom doors suddenly opened. Everyone turned. A man stood in the doorway. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a black tuxedo. His dark hair was slightly messy, as though he had rushed there. The room went completely silent. Ethan Whitmore had arrived. His eyes moved across the ballroom. Then they landed on Maya. He saw the tears. He saw the red marks on her arm. Then he saw the riding crop in Victoria's hand. Ethan's expression changed. "What happened?" Victoria immediately dropped the crop. "Ethan!" She rushed toward him. "You came early." He didn't hug her. He didn't even look at her. His eyes remained fixed on Maya. "Who did that?" Nobody answered. Ethan asked again. "Who hurt her?" Victoria swallowed. I only disciplined her because she stole my mother's necklace." Ethan slowly turned toward Victoria. "She stole something?" "Yes." "What?" "My mother's emerald necklace." "Where is it?" "We're still looking." Ethan's jaw tightened. "So you punished someone before you found the evidence?" Victoria's face went pale. "She was the only person in my room." "That doesn't answer my question." The guests exchanged nervous glances. Ethan walked toward Maya. She immediately stepped backward. "Don't be afraid," he said quietly. Maya looked at him through tears. "You don't have to be afraid of me." Then Ethan noticed something. A tiny silver bracelet around Maya's wrist. His face changed. He knew that bracelet. He had seen it once before. Years ago, on the wrist of a little girl standing outside a hospital room. A little girl who had changed his life forever. Ethan stared at Maya. "Where did you get that?" Maya looked down. "This?" She touched the worn silver bracelet. "My mother gave it to me." "What's your mother's name?" Maya hesitated. "Rachel." Ethan stopped breathing for a second. "Rachel Carter?" Maya nodded. "Yes?" The color disappeared from Ethan's face. Because Rachel Carter wasn't a stranger. She had been his father's private secretary 20 years earlier. And she had disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Ethan had spent years believing she had betrayed his family. But now, standing in front of him, was the daughter of the woman he had spent half his life trying to forget. And he suddenly realized something terrifying. Maybe everything he'd been told about Rachel was a lie. The ballroom remained frozen. Ethan looked at Maya as though he were trying to remember a dream. "How old are you?" he asked. 26. "And your mother?" "She died when I was 11. Ethan's throat tightened. "Did she ever talk about my family?" Maya looked confused. "Your family?" "Yes." Maya shook her head. "She told me never to trust rich people." Several guests exchanged uncomfortable looks. Victoria stepped forward. "Ethan, this is ridiculous. You're letting a maid manipulate you." Ethan turned. "Enough." Victoria froze. She had never heard him speak to her that way. He removed his jacket and placed it over Maya's shoulders. Then he said quietly, "Mrs. Collins, take Maya upstairs and make sure someone treats those injuries." Victoria stared at him. "You are choosing a servant over me?" Ethan looked at her. "I'm choosing not to stand beside someone who hurts people because she has money." The ballroom erupted into whispers. Victoria's face burned with humiliation. But Ethan wasn't finished. "Bring me the security footage." His head of security immediately appeared with a tablet. "Sir, we're reviewing it now." "Good. And search Victoria's dressing room again." Victoria's eyes widened. "Why?" "Because if Maya didn't steal the necklace, someone did." 20 minutes later, the security chief returned. "Mr. Whitmore." "What?" "We found something." He handed Ethan the tablet. The footage showed Victoria entering her dressing room alone. She looked around. Then she opened a small safe. She removed the emerald necklace. She placed it inside a red handbag. Then she walked out. The ballroom went silent. Victoria stared at the screen. "No." Ethan looked at her. "Why?" She couldn't answer. "Victoria, why did you accuse Maya?" Why?" Victoria's voice cracked. "Because I knew nobody would question me." Ethan's eyes hardened. "You hurt an innocent woman because you thought your status protected you." Victoria began crying. But Ethan walked away. He wasn't interested in her tears. He was interested in Maya. Later that night, Maya sat in the small guest room while Mrs. Collins cleaned her injuries. Ethan stood outside the door. He hesitated before knocking. "Come in." He entered. Maya immediately stood. "You don't have to stand." She sat again. Ethan took the chair across from her. "I owe you an apology." Maya looked at him. "You didn't hurt me, but I should have protected you." She smiled sadly. "People like me aren't usually protected by people like you." The sentence hit him harder than she intended. Ethan looked down. "My father employed your mother." Maya nodded. "I know." "Did she ever tell you why she left?" "No." "Did she ever mention a man named Charles Whitmore?" Maya's eyes widened. "Your father?" "Yes." "My mother said he ruined her life." Ethan went still. "What exactly did she say?" "She said she discovered something terrible at the company. She said she tried to expose it." "Expose what?" "I don't know." Maya reached into her purse. "There is one thing she left me." She pulled out an old envelope. Ethan stared at it. On the front were 4 words. "For Ethan Whitmore." His hands began to shake. "Where did you get this?" "My mother gave it to me before she died." "Why didn't you give it to me?" "Because she told me to wait." "Until when?" Maya looked him directly in the eyes. "Until someone from your family showed me they were different." Ethan couldn't speak. Maya placed the envelope on the table. "I think tonight proves something." "What?" "You are not like them." Ethan slowly opened the envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter. His father's name appeared several times. So did the name of a company executive who had mysteriously died 18D. Years earlier, Ethan read the final sentence. His hands went cold. "If anything happens to me, the person responsible is already inside the Whitmore family." Ethan spent the entire night investigating. By sunrise, he had discovered something horrifying. 20 years earlier, his father had been involved in an illegal financial scheme. Rachel Carter had discovered it. She had planned to expose him. But before she could, she was accused of stealing company money. Her reputation was destroyed. She lost her job. Her friends abandoned her. And she disappeared with her 11-year-old daughter. Maya. But there was one problem. The financial records showed Rachel had never stolen anything. Someone had forged the evidence. And Ethan discovered who. His father's younger brother, Daniel Whitmore. Daniel was now the chairman of the Whitmore Foundation, the respectable uncle everyone trusted. Ethan confronted him that morning. "Did you frame Rachel Carter?" Daniel laughed. "You've been listening to a dead woman's stories?" "I have the records." Daniel's smile disappeared. "You don't understand what you're doing." "I understand perfectly." Daniel stepped closer. "Your father built this family, and you destroyed innocent people to protect it." Daniel's voice became cold. That woman was going to destroy everything. She was going to expose the truth. She was going to bankrupt us. "No," Ethan said. "She was going to stop you." Daniel stared at him. Then he whispered, "You're just like your mother." Ethan froze. "My mother," Daniel smiled. "Ask yourself why your mother suddenly left your father." Ethan felt the ground disappear beneath him. For years, he'd believed his mother had abandoned the family. But now another secret was emerging. Ethan returned home and searched his mother's old belongings. Inside an antique jewelry box, he found a photograph. His mother was standing beside Rachel. Behind them was a handwritten date. 20 years earlier. On the back was a note. "We know what Daniel did. If anything happens to us, protect our children." Ethan sat down. His mother hadn't abandoned him. She had been trying to protect him. And Rachel had been protecting Maya. Two women had sacrificed everything to keep their children safe. Ethan closed his eyes. For the first time in 20 years, he cried. Meanwhile, Maya stood in the kitchen of the mansion. She was packing her things. She had decided to leave. She didn't want money. She didn't want revenge. She simply wanted peace. Ethan found her. "You're leaving?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because your family has already taken enough from mine." Ethan stepped closer. "They're not going to hurt you again." "You can't promise that." "No." He paused. "But I can promise I'll spend the rest of my life making sure they never get the chance." Maya looked at him. "Why do you care so much?" Ethan answered honestly. "Because I spent my whole life believing your mother was a thief." He swallowed. She wasn't. Maya's eyes filled with tears. She just wanted someone to believe her. "I believe her now." "And what about me?" Ethan looked directly into her eyes. "I believe you too." Maya began crying. Not because she was weak. Because after 20 years of being treated like the daughter of a criminal, someone had finally said the words she had desperately needed to hear. "I believe you." 3 weeks later, Ethan held another gathering at the Whitmore estate. But this time, it wasn't a celebration. It was a press conference. Dozens of reporters filled the ballroom. Daniel Whitmore sat in the front row. Victoria was there too. Ethan walked to the microphone. "My family has spent decades building a reputation for success." He paused. But some of that reputation was built on lies. The reporters began taking photographs. Ethan revealed the financial records, the forged evidence against Rachel, the illegal transactions, the cover-up, and the people who had helped Daniel hide the truth. By the end of the presentation, Daniel's empire had begun collapsing. Federal investigators arrived before the conference ended. Daniel was escorted away. Victoria stood in the corner. She looked completely different from the confident woman who had raised a riding crop against Maya weeks earlier. She approached Maya. "I'm sorry." Maya said nothing. Victoria wiped her tears. "I was cruel because I was afraid." Maya finally looked at her. "Afraid of what?" "Of losing everything." Maya's voice was quiet. "You nearly made me lose everything." Victoria lowered her head. "I know." Maya could have humiliated her. She could have demanded revenge. Instead, she simply said, "Don't ever hurt someone just because you think they can't fight back." Victoria nodded. Then she walked away. Months passed. The Whitmore estate changed. Ethan created the Rachel Carter Foundation, dedicated to helping workers who had been falsely accused or mistreated by powerful employers, and Maya became its director. Not a maid, not a victim, not the daughter of a disgraced woman, a respected leader. One evening, Ethan found Maya sitting in the garden. "You know," he said. My mother would have liked you. Maya smiled. I think my mother would have liked you too. Ethan sat beside her. I've been thinking. That's dangerous. He laughed. Then his expression became serious. Would you stay? Maya looked at him. Here? Not because you work for me. He took a breath. Because I want you in my life. Maya smiled. I don't need saving, Ethan. I know. Good. I don't want to save you. He looked at her. I want to stand beside you. Maya's eyes filled with tears. She reached for his hand. Then stay. And he did. Years later, a portrait hung in the main hallway of the Whitmore estate. It showed two women standing together, Rachel Carter and Ethan's mother. Below the photograph was a simple inscription. They lost everything so their children could have a chance. But there was another photograph beside it. Maya and Ethan standing together on the steps of the foundation they had built. The girl who had once been beaten in a ballroom had become the woman who changed the entire Whitmore family. And the billionaire who walked into that ballroom, expecting to celebrate his wedding, had discovered something far more valuable than money. He discovered the truth. He discovered courage. And most importantly, he discovered that sometimes the person society teaches you to look down on is the person who teaches you what dignity really means. The lesson. Never confuse wealth with worth. Money can buy a mansion, a diamond necklace, or a seat at the most exclusive table in the room, but it cannot buy character. Maya had almost nothing when she walked into that mansion. Yet she carried something the richest people there had forgotten: kindness. And Ethan learned that the true measure of a person isn't how much power they have. It's what they do when they have power over someone who has none. If this story touched your heart, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who believes that kindness and courage can change a life.